All right, good morning, everybody. We are so excited. Today we're chatting on our Fun Fact Friday with Neil Ring. So Neil's one of our newer agents. Welcome, Neil.
Hey, how's it going?
Awesome. And we've got our managing broker, Andrew, and his assistant today. I guess these are how our huddles, our weekly huddles been going this summer.
Feels like I'm his assistant, man. I don't know. But we'll see.
I love it.
Playing hooky from daycare today, so he's helping dad out at work. Huh, buddy?
Yeah. Oh, I love it, man. And I tell you, it's interesting. It seems like the weather's finally breaking. It's been what, 9 weeks or so of treacherous weather. It's been rough.
It's still in and out, man. So we took the
Yeah.
family to the Renaissance Festival down in Larkspur this year, which
How'd that go?
out there hasn't been. It's really fun. It's like the third biggest one in the country or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
And so, but man, we got there probably like a little late. Probably got there like 1, and it just like torrential downpour, hail, kind of nasty. Like we almost like turned around and left. We just kind of waited 20 minutes and it broke, and it was a great afternoon, ton of fun. I'm sure it kind of thinned out the crowd a little bit. So yeah, it was a great day.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Good for you. So Neil, man, I tell you, so welcome to our fireside chat. So just start out, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you from, what are you into, and we'll just see where the conversation goes.
Yeah, I'm originally from Connecticut, but I have family all over. So most of my family's in the East Coast, let's say like from Connecticut all the way down to Virginia. As a kid, grew up playing sports, primarily, baseball, also played football, soccer. I'm in love with sports. I enjoy the game, the game within the game, strategy and stuff like that. But yeah, baseball is my main sport, passion. I played in college and played a little bit overseas, played in Slovenia, had a few other opportunities, but just played in Slovenia and enjoy baseball.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to school at Old Dominion, and then I transferred to Spring Hill College. That's where I got my undergrad in Mobile, Alabama, and I'm actually completing a master's in finance at Alliance University. Played baseball there too.
Holy cow. Well, I tell you what, I bet you two have a lot of things you can talk about, the two stats guys here.
It's fun in the shop when Neil's in and I'm in for sure.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome. So what brought you to Colorado?
Well, I was in Flagstaff last year. Flagstaff's pretty similar to Colorado, great outdoors. Breweries all over the place. But we were just looking for a place that was closer to the mountains, a little bit more entertainment. So, came out here and I can't complain. There's a lot to do. Made some great friends, and I don't even think we've been here a year, but I love it.
Awesome. And then what about your immediate family?
My immediate family, I don't have anyone that lives here in Denver, but my stepdad, he actually introduced me to Colorado and Denver. We took a family vacation when I was about 5, and we came out here, and it was the first time like seeing mountains in my life, and I'm just glad I got to come back and experience it all over again.
Yeah, that is awesome. I tell you what, I remember that. I moved to Colorado in 97, and of all places, I worked for the phone company, and I got relocated to Pueblo, of all places, right? Yeah, and so spent 4 or 5 years there, and then I quickly found a role within the company's headquarters, which was in Denver at the time, US West Quest, and was there ever since. So yeah, it's crazy.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Have you guys been to Pueblo in recently?
It's been a long time.
So it's kind of cool now, man. They've done a lot in this like Riverwalk area. So they during COVID, they would host all of the wrestling tournaments at this one location down at the Pueblo Event Center, I think is what it was called.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right by this new Riverwalk they'd built. It's really neat. They got like breweries and restaurants and like a cool outdoor stuff to do. And if you're a young wrestler out there, CSU Pueblo, Dax Charles is a great coach, runs a good program. Like it's a cool place to be now. It's definitely come up in the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, that Riverwalk was just starting. They were just starting to move the dirt when I relocated to Denver. That's how long ago that was. And I know that a lot of people from Colorado Springs market, especially in IT and tech early on, were living on the very, very north end, which was, we called the back way to Pueblo West. They're really far north of town. And it was
Right.
kind of like I equivalent today to people that are living in the, like off of Briargate or the north part of Colorado Springs working in the
Okay. Hmm.
in fact, it's funny, a guy that I worked with, he lived in Pueblo West and worked a 20 plus year career with the phone company with Quest, and would commute up early, like leave at 5 in the morning or 4 in the morning on Mondays and stay a couple nights in the hotel and then go back on Thursday afternoons. His commute time was actually less living down there. And he had obviously a less cost of living, you know what I mean? He just spent a lot of time on the road, but some people, they don't mind it, too. So good. So Neil, tell us a little bit about, maybe what drew you to real estate, some of the things in your short tenure right now that maybe some big ahas and some things that we can help you with as you're developing and launching your career.
Yeah. Well, why I got into real estate, I had, previous experience as a, accountant and a little bit in sales. So, yeah, I was just interested in, helping clients, in this case, homeowners and those looking to sell a home. Yeah, it's just I'd really like to help people with that process. I bought my house last year in August, and it was a pretty stressful process. And to just have a professional and be a professional and guide someone through that life-changing decision, it's pretty fulfilling.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, sorry, the connection just
No,
got spotty
man.
for a second.
But I was just saying that's great, and you've done a really great job of like really jumping in with both feet and making sure you're engaging with the training both in the office and online, and really, and we've talked about like your passion, your heart for putting your clients first, which is what we really, it's probably our only real requirement here at Windermere, is that's where we start, right? But yeah, so talk to me a little bit about like what, I mean, I know it's new, obviously, but you have kind of travel and you've done the kind of like, semi-pro baseball, done the accounting thing. Like, what has kind of led you to this point in your career? What are some skills you feel like you uniquely bring to it, And I'd love to find some clients that fit your, that you are their avatar for the realtor they're looking for. So what's the best way we can show that to them?
Yeah, I mean, with with my wide variety of experiences, I think it brings some good characteristics to the table in real estate. Clients, they come from various backgrounds. They have various interests and wants, and just having that experience with different people. I could read kind of read their feel, their vibe, and just really tailor it to their specific needs and wants.
Love it, man. And then having just gone through it kind of, yourself super recently, what are some things that now, either as like a person who's, bought their first home, been through that process, or as a realtor kind of looking at it, and then what's like the top 2 or 3 things you wish you would have known, going into that thing before you started?
Uh, the immediate thing that comes to mind is, so my attic at my house, it doesn't have like a ladder or drop down ladder or anything.
Mhm.
And didn't find that out until day one of actually owning the home. So just little things like that. And a big thing too is when people are looking to sell a home or buy a home, just knowing like closing costs, like giant things that in the industry that we'd be like, duh, like gotta account for that. If you're not a professional, or someone that's studied like I was 10, 12 months ago, it's a completely different world, and your perspective is it's just different.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Well, and a lot of that too is also like it's our skill set, right? But it's also aligning ourselves with quality partners in the industry, right? Like that ladder thing is like, yeah, we should be looking for it, but at the end of the day, that's having a great inspector that you can refer to. It's going to look for those kinds of like day in, day out living expenses, not just something that we want to find out the major problems potentially as well. But the day in, day out living stuff is important to point out, even if it doesn't make the report. You had to have a conversation about it, right? I mean,
Mhm.
closing costs, man. I mean, I know that you've, recently over at First Integrity, their app makes calculating those closing costs, makes estimating them really, really easy. So
Yeah.
having those people we align ourselves with really takes the pressure off of you to like remember all that stuff every single time, right? So that way we can really focus on our client relationships and fill in the gaps. But partnerships, man, partnerships are what makes this business work, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
No
think you're
doubt.
right, Andrew. And I also think
Yeah.
too, I know we've had some dialogue around this, is that, we're in the people business. We're not in the house business. It's just a product, right? And I think really understanding those people's wants and needs and desires, especially in residential, it's just a huge deal. That emotion kicks in, and being attentive to that. And then probably like in your accounting background and sales background, even sports background, certain people gravitate to certain things, right? Some people are really into the touchy feely. Some people are into the visual. Some people are into the numbers and the stats and the data, right? And so we have to kind of be that coach, right? And that counselor and that friend, all the way through. But Andrew's right. And I think establishing early on really good partnerships and affiliates in our business will help you long term build those long term relationships. But also when someone just has a question, just a random question, you have people to go to. You have your
Mhm.
squad, right? Where you can work through things and again appear bigger than you are, right? But also be able to continue to provide value that's not even with buying and selling of real estate.
Definitely, and I think it's great that, we can offer that to new agents like Neil, with through eventually when we're going to budget for it, but that ninja training program really helps us to identify the kind of person we are and the kind of consumer we are and how to relate to, those people who might be the number people, might be the touchy-feely people. And in the meantime, we can kind of use some of the trainings like Fridays with Fanning to really kind of curtail and make that a little steeper climb instead of having to go do the whole thing ourselves. So yeah, it can, just trying to offer, and you've done a great job really taking advantage of all those things out there, right? Because I mean, we've said it 1,000 times, and like if Windermere is a great brokerage if you're going to use the tools and assets that we bring, and if you're not going to use them, then we're probably not the best fit because then it's just that's what we have to offer is our guidance and our tools and our education. And if you're not going to take advantage of that, then we probably are the brokerage for you. So you've done a great job really aligning yourself. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to Andrew's point, it's interesting that there's a lot of tools and a lot of resources, right? And to figure out which ones really work within your flow and work within your sphere, right? And then be able to just maximize those, right? Because Andrew's right. There's a reason why those tools are there. There's a reason why we've crossed 50 years in the business. There's a reason why we're not publicly traded, right? There's a reason, and so how do you leverage that and grow off of that is huge. So, maybe tell me a little bit about, this Fast Start program and some things that have been, I don't want to say ahas, but some things that have been like, okay, I get that. That makes sense to me. I can implement this right away.
Just getting started on the fast track program here at Windermere. One thing that's really clicked is just what I'm doing for my marketing and my scope purpose. It's really pinpointed. It's the people within my baseball here. I have a baseball team. My connections as my friends here, as well as stuff like hiking and outdoor activities. I'm really able to tailor my marketing around that and talk to people that I'm close to. It's more of an organic conversation rather than me just going out of the blue and almost just like more not like cold calling people. I'm not doing that. It's more like warmer leads in that sense.
Yeah, that's great. And I really think I saw you had the sleeves for your baseball team made. Those were super cool. That was a cool, unique approach
Nice.
to that. So that's great, man. And then I'd love to hear, just kind of what I know you've got a lot of plans coming up here for like the next several months through the summer here. How do you plan on kind of staying connected with those I guess more like spring and summer sorts of connections here as we move into like the winter and the fall, when maybe it's still, I mean, I know we can play baseball in the fall, but beyond October, that kind of gets tough, right? So how are we going to plan to keep growing those relationships in that sphere as we move into like the colder months?
Yeah, I'm definitely I'm actually looking to take some time off of baseball in the fall.
Okay.
I'd like to play intramural slow pitch. Slow pitch. I don't think it's intramural. I'm not in college anymore, but
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
co-ed. That's what
Yeah,
it's called. Yeah. Um,
yeah.
slow pitch softball. I'd like to do that with my, my friends and, my wife and their
Mhm.
significant others. That'd be great. Even, expand my scope. And I'm looking to play some, basketball. I played the other day. I played pretty good, tweaked my hammy, but hopefully when the workload of, the baseball season is over, I'll just enjoy playing basketball too. And then skiing in the winter. So connections through those type of activities and just getting out and seeing friends and even family if they come out here would be great.
Yeah, man. Watch yourself out there in the rec league basketball, man. I was having dinner with one of my friends yesterday, and he's like a pretty athletic dude. He's my age, he's 35, but he's probably like 6'3", 190, 210, somewhere in there. And he's like, yeah, I like to ride my bike. He's like, yeah, I've been playing like a little soccer. He's like playing hoops, man. He's like, dude, these 22-year-old kids are maniacs out there, man. They think they're gonna get drafted. He's like, he's like, I just gonna hang out, have a good time, play some hoops, not trying to bust my hammy. Like,
That's funny.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, there
and,
were some.
and to take that a step further, Neil,
Mhm.
I've always felt that if you just do the things you love to do, you're not really working, right?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
will attract people to you automatically. You write something common, right? It's interesting. Being having a sports background, being a sports guy, a lot of times we use a lot of references to the Broncos, and we say things like, the Broncos don't go out and practice on Sunday, right? They practice all week. What's going to happen is going to happen, right? So, talk to me a little bit about, from maybe a sports mindset, things
Mhm.
that you're doing to practice throughout the week, let's just say, in preparation for your first buyers, in preparation for your first sellers, in preparation for your networking groups, things like that.
Mhm. Andrew gave me, a schedule to follow through the week that has, social media, post like schedule, as well as, talking to clients and marketing. So that's great in the practice sense. And then Nicole, she's in Indiana for the month. So in a sense, she's given me her book of business and just tasks to do. So there's, on top of, having the, scheduled practice, it's also important just to go out and do it, like a real life scenario. So I'm getting the best of both worlds in that aspect.
Very cool. Very awesome. Yeah, I talked with Nicole last week and she said she's got you doing a lot of stuff, which I think is dynamic. So
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I love it. Well, so I guess this is probably a good time. You got both Michael and myself on here. Are there any questions that you have about like the industry, Windermere, us? I know we talked a lot about Windermere and kind of our backgrounds, but we definitely can answer them here. If there's any questions you have right now, you got us on a public forum here. Let's do it. So, what kind of questions do you have?
Let's see, questions. I don't have any questions at the moment. Sorry.
Yeah, this is the on the spot drilling when you get that question of like, hey, what does this do in the house? And you're like, it's
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't have, things have been going pretty good. I I wish I, had a sale by now, but it's only month one, and I've had, a sale. I'll have a sale coming up in the next couple months, and then a buyer. Um, so it's going good. I'm learning a lot. I could definitely learn more, but I feel like I'm at a great pace right now. A good pace for myself.
No, I think you're doing great, man. I think if you're getting this kind of traction at this stage, our goal, as we always talked about, is try to get you something in the first 90 days, right? So
Hmm.
you're already working something and probably will have likely a closing or two in the first 90 days. And yeah, man, just keep doing what you're doing. How do you need an elephant, baby? One bite at a time. Just keep chunking away at it and adding something new to your task list, and then removing stuff that doesn't work, right? That's the whole key, is test things out, keep doing what's working, remove what doesn't, and add something new in to fill that spot. We just don't take time off, right? So yeah.
Yeah, and I think as far as the time off piece, I think
Yeah.
touching your business on a daily basis. It's not we don't put in 8 hours a day, 7 days a
No,
week.
that's not it. Yeah.
Right. So I think Andrew's right. There's things that pop up. that are relevant to people in your sphere that could have happened over the weekend, right? Hey, this is really cool. It has nothing to do with real estate, right? It has to do with some sort of sports or something. You know, Andrew does a lot of that. It has nothing to do with it. It just it's a brings people in a different way, right? I think peeling off pieces of your day, you know, one thing that I used to do, and I know that you're working on this, is when I first started is twice a month. So every other Saturday, I try to do an open house if I could. Sometimes on a Sunday. It just depended on what I had going on at the time. When I got in, I was just newly married, you know, and whatnot. But also I think getting out and just opening doors and practicing how you're going to walk through a house, because you're going to walk through and present a kitchen or a cool basement or a garage maybe differently than Andrew would, right? But getting out there and just getting comfortable, right? And then lately, I know there's been a lot of memes and a lot of things in the Denver market because electronic lock boxes are not required, right? Well, more and more people are doing electronic lock boxes. So for example, in Colorado Springs, you don't have a choice, right? In Missouri, where I also have a license, there's not a choice. You have to use electronic. So if you don't know how to fumble through those things, it's good to know, right? And also I think, snapping a few pictures here and there and getting them out there is huge too, because what happens is that you're staying in front of people in a little bit different way, in a little bit meaningful way. And then the other side to that is when people have things going on in their lives, right? So they just got engaged or they just found out they're pregnant. I mean, things like that, being engaged with people is huge, because generally speaking, there's going to be some life changes there, right? And you can be there as part of that piece of it. Whereas other than just ignoring it, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
I think it's important to strike a balance on this too, right? You know, like, because to your point, Michael, and I know this is what you've talked about it basically tangentially the whole time here, is you have to be able to connect people that are similar to you, or they're going to at least know you, like you, and trust you. And it's important to put real estate information out there, right? It's important. Windermere has the blog series for a reason, and Inman has a super successful news agency for a reason, right? So that information needs to be out there, but that's not what really is going to draw people in and make people understand who you are. And if you're the kind of person they want to do business with, you need to post your hobbies and your friends and your family and the stuff you like to do, you know? And if you're not comfortable posting certain stuff, that's fine. Don't do it, but you have to be able to take some risk and put yourself out there, right? Like what pulls people into you is going to be your cool photo of your baseball team out there on the road playing games. And they might stick around and read an article that was on your blog, right? Your blog post about, like, as cool as it is, like, how to, I don't know, clean your home with safe chemicals. That's important information. That's cool. And people will engage with it, but that's not what's going to draw in a random audience, or it's going to help you grow your sphere and let you give you the opportunity to help more people, which is what we all want to do. Right. So I think you have to be able to take that risk, and it's part of being in our business is you have to be willing to put that out there. Right. And if you aren't, I understand it's scary, but that just totally limits the amount of people that you can assist. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Andrew, because it's like we have a flow for business type stuff, whether it's from Windermere, whether it's from things like Inman or things like Keeping Current Matters. And those are just top of mind bites, right? At the stoplight when somebody's scrolling through a feed of some sort or a thread, whatever that looks like. But you know, what's interesting is
do it at stoplights, do it like in the bathroom or whatever, guys.
yeah, exactly.
I drive on these roads, man, you know. All right.
I know, right?
Yeah, it gets yeah.
We just had a family reunion, and with our family, it's probably been 15 years, maybe longer, since we've all been together in one location. And it was amazing over that week or week and a half, just the family posting things or me or whatever. The amount of engagement was far superior than almost anything business-wise. Almost. Right? It was amazing. And then put a picture of the dog up there, you get like 100 likes. It's wild, right? So those are sometimes the things that I think people can go way too far in one direction or way too far in the other direction. And so back to what Andrew had teed up here a little bit, was a little bit of that balance of we're human first, right? And I think that's what really attracts people. And you know, I think this guy, that's a cool dude. You know, that's right. I know Neil. I've known Neil for a long time. I'm going to talk with him. I'm comfortable with him and things like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think personally, I don't know what your guys' notice have been, and Neil, you probably I do have social media beyond just real estate, but I find that like a good, like somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 5 to 1 personal stuff to business, with one being the business, is a good balance for me. You know, like and that's what I care to post. I'm not like, I enjoy putting information out there that Windermere has to offer, and that, the real estate industry is important for people to know about. Like, I think Mondays with Matthew is great information for everybody. But like, what I'm excited to post out there is me doing cool stuff with my family, my friends, man. That's what engages me, and that's what's going to engage my audience. And I honestly think a really good way it's more difficult, but a way to get really good squeeze out of some of the more real estate focused, business focused information is just keep your ear out and keep your eyes on Facebook. And when people do post like, oh man, redesign the backyard, then shoot them a personal email or a personal text, like, hey, or drive by their place and drop off like the cool Colorado xeriscaping guideline that we just had pop on Windermere. That was a great article, man, but it's not for everybody. It's for that person. And then you've really made a connection. Then you've done something for them, So obviously we got to push our business stuff, and it's important. It's really great things. But man, if you can do that extra little step and just kind of keep your eyes and your ears out for when that specific information is going to be valuable, do it, man. Like, and if you want to cheat code it, wait till someone asks a question and then go on windermere.com or the Windermere Hub, and search for something related. Like, it's, oh, they were painting the house, search for paint. There'll be 30 articles about how to paint your house a cool color to add to your home. Like, hey, I just thought of you, saw this thought of you, don't mind the dates 2 months back or whatever, but just give it to them. Like, who cares? So use that, put that one in your pocket, guys. It's a good tip.
I like it. That's a great tip, actually. Well, great. So we're coming up on our time frame here. Is there any other final comments, Neil, or anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, you said something actually interesting. You said people going one way or the other way, like in a spectrum of too far with their personal and business. So what's what's an example? You don't have to say like the person, but of like, of it being way too personal, like where you've seen their socials being way too personal.
I know we probably have similar answers to this. I guess my thought on this, and this is going to be probably a little blunt, but you guys know me by now. I'm like, you're only so cool, man. At some point, I don't care how many bars you've gone to or what restaurants you're eating at, or like how many cool, however many top 1% realtors in Denver events you go to, which I'm always shocked by the number of people who are the top 1% realtor in Denver. The math just doesn't add up to me. It's like, like when it becomes very like self-aggrandizing and self-fawning for me is when it crosses the line. I think that, and especially when it's not unique, right? Like if you have a cool, like if you can like juggle really well and you post cool pictures, videos of you doing cool juggling tricks all day long, I'm going to check that out. But if your skill is like standing in nice clothes with a drink in your hand, that's to me is like, well, one or two of those is cool, but if that's your entire feed, I'm like, well, this person's kind of just boring. Not going to connect with them, right? But yeah, people's families, people doing cool activities, people playing baseball, people hiking, people like, again, I have a buddy back in Texas that his thing is he plays the violin and he's really, really good at it. And so it's cool, man. Not everyone does it. It's a unique approach. So if you can find a unique way to wear nice clothes with a drink in your hand, I'll check out your feed. But beyond that, if that's all I'm seeing, I'm a little bored by it more than I'm off put, I guess. And I'm just not going to engage,
Yeah, I would say I agree. And I'd probably expand that a little bit for people that, and I'm sure you've all seen these where people write a novel of something that happened to them. They're a victim of something, right? Somebody cut them off in traffic and it's a novel on a rant that goes on to 20 topics, right? I mean, that type of stuff is just, it's like really, I think, the personal is fun. We have family, or especially if you have kids, or if you've got dogs and, a spouse, obviously. I mean, those are fun things. And the same kind of with the business. I mean, going on and on and on. And, unfortunately, and, we've seen a lot of that. We saw a lot of it in recent months, or even the last year. There was just a lot, right? And it was like, okay, enough. You know what I mean? So that would be probably a really good example. The business side, I would say people that it's just all business. There's no personal. Look at me, how amazing I am. Andrew's right. We've done the math. There's no way in the green earth that there's that many top 1.5%ers in Denver. They don't exist. But you go through the feeds out there and everybody's one. So it's like, I think those are things that are very narcissistic, if you will. And I think at the end of the day, it's our clients, if they're buyers, our clients are the ones that also work very hard and also have incomes and dollars. And if it's a seller, they purchased a property, they own that property, they maintain that property. I mean, it's not that, you did anything. You know what I mean? It's like you were the catalyst, right? It's a matter of how we guided through that process for the best outcome for all, right? And that's just a different approach, I think, than maybe what's out there today. So I hope that answered your question on both sides.
Yeah, thank you for both providing those examples. Thank you.
Well,
Well, cool.
it is going to be up to the individual viewer though, right? Like there's like,
Hmm.
for me, like, there's plenty of people we can probably point to that are highly successful that do one of those two things, that are either hyper business focused on their social media or hyper personal focused in a way that I in particular don't like. But all that means they're just not the right kind of person for me, right? So, but I'm going to cater my postings and my outreach to the public to garner an audience that I'd like and want to work with, right? So because if I'm going to put out like, ingenuine or disingenuous things out in the world, then I'm going to eventually get to a point where like I might fool a few of them, but at some point that person to pick up that I'm just not their kind of person and they're not mine. And at some point we're not going to build this long lasting, hopefully decades long business relationship that we're trying to form here, guys. So yeah, man, like it's, like my buddy I went to dinner with last night, we started off on as a real estate transaction a few years ago, and now we hang out pretty frequently. And those are the kind of relationships I would like to form because I want to be around people I like. I don't know if that's selfish in its own right, but that's who I want to do business with. So
Well, and I think too, it's also, we're looking for people that are looking for us, right? I mean, you have your own swagger, you have your own style, right? And you take from a lot of people to form your own, right? And you have to be authentic in that way too, right? And so, and Andrew's right. I mean, like, there's certain clients in my past that it's like I realized right away it just wasn't a good fit, right? Even though we had a transaction, it just wasn't a good fit, right? I've had some where, Andrew referenced some people that have been wildly successful with some strategies, but they've also probably spoken to a lot of people that didn't choose them either. You're only hearing about the ones that chose them, right? Not the ones that didn't, right? So you don't get a big post out there that says, these are all the people that rejected me this month, right? So I think it's important just to be very, very genuine and very authentic and be within your people and within your flow, and you'll just be wildly successful.
Yeah, I think I agree. And that's kind of like what you said earlier, Neil, is like, hey, I'm taking like a really catered approach to what I post and who I post to, because you're trying to hit for average, man. Like, like if you're gonna have less at bats, but you're gonna get more hits, right? Like there's nothing wrong with casting a super wide net and being okay that you're gonna miss 80% of the time if that 20% equals enough money for you or enough transactions for you, whatever it is, right? But we try to form on building relationships that eventually lead to probably some transactions and some money. But just the order of operations there with our approach just doesn't make the wide net thing feasible.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, cool. Well, man, we've come to the end of our time today, and we really appreciate it, Neil. We're really excited to have you as part of the team. We love your energy, and you're bringing a lot of value to the other agents and some of the one-on-ones that Andrew and I are having. So I think that's amazing, and hope you have a great rest of your week and an awesome weekend.
Thanks. Yeah, appreciate. Oh, thanks.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just thank you, for having me part of the team, make me feel like I'm welcome, and just teaching me what I need to learn and giving me opportunities. Thank you so much.
Awesome. We're happy to do it. Thank you so much, Tim.
Yes.